City officials seized several animals from a Southside home. A proclamation dispute could lead to changes in city policy. And the Egyptian government authorizes deadly force as a crackdown continues. Good evening and thank you for being with us. On the heels of a decision by City Council to reject a new bylaw that restricts the number of pets a homeowner can have, Humane Society officials were called to a Southside home today to deal with another animal hoarding incident. Both police and animal services were there to help remove a dozen cats and 2 dogs from a D Street residence earlier today. The dogs and 7 cats were then later sent to the Humane Society to be looked after. Supervisor of Animal Services Jody Conrad confirms the other 5 cats were taken to a veterinary clinic and will likely have to be put down. The homeowner, who did not want to be identified, says the animals were strays that were living in a van on his property. Humane Society Executive Director Glenn Wilson says the situation on Dease is far from over.
I just got off the phone with the city and they fear there could be 20 or 30 more cats there. So first order of business when our agent gets back into town here is to assess the situation and go over to the home.
Wilson says the incidence of hoarding pets seems to be more and more of an issue. Today's additions have raised the number of cats at the Humane Society shelter to 120.
Mayor Keith Hobbs was under fire last night over a denied request to proclaim September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. A request by a group in Sudbury for the proclamation was denied by the clerk's office and came as a shock to the mayor, who issued his own response. But that response wasn't quick enough to stop the many angry text messages and comments on social media. Dennis Ward has more.
And I harken back to 2010 when we proclaimed the day as National Honeybee Day. So give me a break.
Mayor Keith Hobbs feels it might be time to review a nearly 30-year-old policy, giving the clerk's office decisions over proclamations. The request by the Northern Ontario Families of Children with Cancer was endorsed by a local family who are dealing with the fallout of cancer. The family then called on people to email the mayor to reconsider, and many did. But Hobbs, a longtime advocate for cancer awareness, was unaware of the decision and was irate when he found out, calling it boneheaded. The mayor says he doesn't have any regrets about calling out senior staff.
No, you know what, and they don't have any problem calling me out, or the public doesn't have any problem calling me out when I make a boneheaded decision, and that's politics. And you know what, sure, some feathers get ruffled, and mine have been ruffled before, and I'm sure administrations has been ruffled lots, but I'm that kind of guy. I get fired up when I believe in something, and my style, people knew that style when they voted for me, so I'm not going to change.
City Clerk John Hannum says his office only turns down requests if no city departments are in any way involved in the cause, and adds this case was handled like any other. Hannum understands the sensitivity around the issue, but isn't sure the matter was handled properly.
You know, the way social media unfolds, it tends to sometimes draw out emotions, I guess, and get an emotional response to an issue, and I'm not sure that always helps in making an effective decision on matters.
The local family who made the first Facebook post have apologized to the mayor and say they are amazed at how it spiraled out of control. Late this afternoon, the city clerk reversed the earlier decision, saying the matter is clearly in the public's interest. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
Mayor Hobbs was also kept busy today meeting with representatives from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. Hobbs was voted in as chair of that organization back in June. He met with the executive director, David Ulrich, to discuss issues facing Great Lakes communities, which include the storage of nuclear waste. There is a joint review panel that's currently looking at an Ontario power generation proposal to store low and intermediate level nuclear waste near the shores of Lake Huron. Ulrich says the site is near Kincardine, Ontario, and is just 1 kilometer from the edge of the lake. On Tuesday, the Great Lakes Initiative submitted their opposition to the proposal to the review panel. They're worried about the proximity of the location to the lake, but a bigger concern is the precedent that will set if nuclear waste is allowed to be stored so close to the source of drinking water for 40 million people.
One of the basketball coaches in the United States would say, don't play with your car keys over the manhole covers. And this is putting that much waste that close to the largest source of surface fresh water in the world and the drinking water for people, just has some very common sense and good judgment concerns that are raised.
I know Thunder Bay has been declared a nuclear-free zone, but if people realized just the hospital alone, nuclear medicine, and you know, everything that goes east and west through Thunder Bay, rail, by truck, people would be alarmed, I think, and you know, that's something that we need to get a handle on as well. But I think there's a lot more suitable places to put that waste.
Hobbs acknowledged that Ignis's repository bid, for example, for high-level nuclear waste is a much better location. Now, in addition, Ulrich and Hobbs also discussed concerns about water levels across the Great Lakes, as well as how to grow the organization.
Every year, many people walk, run, or cycle across Canada to raise money and awareness. And for years, some have believed there should be a place in Thunder Bay to honor those treks. Across Canada Marathon Museum in the city was first identified as a worthy project by council more than a decade ago. The idea was revived by Councillor Kent Boschkoff just last year, but it now appears the dream is over. Boschkoff felt the Cross Canada achievement should be recognized at the Terry Fox Lookout. But a memo to council from the manager of tourism says several attempts to raise interest in the 13-year-old project did not materialize. However, Boschkoff feels administration didn't follow through with the idea the way it was deserved.
I can understand city administration not wanting to get involved and carry this forward, but I would have expected more, but I understand that there isn't interest, so I guess that's it for Across Canada kiosk at Terry Fox.
The Tourism Division believes that no further effort on the Cross Canada Museum is warranted and don't plan to look into it any further.
As we first told you yesterday on the NewsHour, the final round of flood relief checks are being mailed to Thunder Bay residents this week. And it appears the Disaster Relief Committee was successful in getting more money from the province for the effort. When the first checks were mailed out in April and May, it was revealed the payouts would total about $1.8 million. Local residents had fundraised $1.5 million, which meant the province would only be kicking in about $300,000. Now, the Disaster Committee continued to negotiate with the province to change the guidelines and get more money for those affected. The result was this, an extra $574,000. That brought the total payout to $2.35 million. That's an average of $5,800 for each affected homeowner and property owner. Residents still have until September 17th to notify the DRC office if they feel their claims were assessed incorrectly.
Drivers in the Northwood area got some welcome news today. The traffic cones were removed at the Gulf Links intersection to the Harbour Expressway. The four-laning project and upgrade of the intersection experienced a bit of a delay due to rainy weather and other factors, but the busy intersection was fully reopened early this afternoon.
It'll be, again, a three-leg intersection utilizing the temporary traffic signals. We will have ramps for the eastbound and southbound traffic and westbound left turns and also northbound left turns.
Harm says the next phase in the project calls for the closure of the Central Avenue and Gulf Links Road intersection. It's scheduled to close on Monday and will take about 2 weeks to complete.
The Regional Health Sciences Centre is seeing improvements in wait times from a variety of its departments, but there is still room for improvement when it comes to medical imaging, some children's procedures, and joint surgery. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health, which we told you about yesterday on the NewsHour, local wait times for an MRI are now more than 3 times that of the 28-day target. The provincial average is 59 days, still room for improvement there. The local wait time for eye surgery, though, has seen dramatic improvement over the last year. It's now at 139 days, which is faster than the provincial average and about 40 days under the target. Children's ear, nose, and throat procedures are 24 days over the provincial average, which sits at 136 days. Now, currently, the hospital has 6 to 9% no-show rates when it comes to medical imaging, and the Vice President of Patient Services says they're looking at ways to improve that.
Always calling to patients to remind them that they have an appointment, for example, versus just the letter they receive in the mail. So we're doing some things there. In addition, around total joints, although we have about 600 total joints that are done annually, we're still seeing that with our aging population demographic, there's an opportunity for more funding that would actually enable us to do more total joints.
Provincial statistics show that wait times in hospitals right across the province have been showing improved results.
Ontario Provincial Police have now issued a caution over a telephone scam that is making the rounds. Under the scam, the recipient is told they have won a trip being offered by a local business, but must provide their credit card information in order to secure the prize. They're advising that before you give out any financial information over the phone, you ask for a callback number, request time to think about the offer, or just hang up.
Thunder Bay's Halfway Motors is a half-century old. The local car dealership is celebrating its 50th anniversary this week. Halfway Motors Nissan marked its 5 decades in service in Thunder Bay with a gathering of local dignitaries and community partners last evening. The event was held to commemorate the achievement of being in business for that long, and Halfway Motors President John Trevisanuto attributes the success of the company to the residents of Thunder Bay.
I have to tell you that Thunder Bay's been an awesome community to work in. They've been very good to our family and very supportive of our dealership, and we're just pleased to be able to continue the tradition.
Now, according to the staff at Halfway, the business continues to grow, and they're confident there will be another celebration in another 50 years.
There's always something fun happening at Marina Park during the summer, and as one weekly event wrapped up last night for the year, another one is hot on its trail, ready to start tomorrow night. Courtney Rutherford has the details.
It's a place where people grab their lawn chair, kick back, and enjoy a free evening of music right on the edge of Lake Superior. Since 1904, Summer in the Parks has been showcasing performers and a variety of musical styles every Wednesday night. With a couple thousand people in attendance weekly, there's a reason why it's stuck around for so many years.
The people that are attending are also being exposed to new music, new artisans, new community groups, new art forms with some of our independent entertainers and everything else. So it really is a great place for people to start to learn more about culture in Thunder Bay.
Now that Summer in the Parks has wrapped up, another event is ready to begin this Friday night. Movies in the Park will kick off with Back to the Future 2. The movie is expected to begin rolling just after dusk. However, previews and short films will be played beforehand.
It's really a great way to utilize Marina Park, Prince Arthur's Landing. We've done a lot of development down here, of course, and it's a great way for the community to come together, for families to come down and enjoy a free evening together.
Now, if the warm weather continues, it should be a great evening for a night in the park. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
Nice to see those great crowds down there for those events. And Matt, I'm sure there'll be another great crowd in attendance tomorrow if the weather holds up.
Yeah, weather looks good right now as we speak, which is great news. Again, for those preparing to head down to Marina Park tomorrow night, I'll have more details about that forecast tomorrow on the News Hour. For now, we're loving the beautiful weather. Nothing but clear skies across the region today as well. You have a look at the satellite picture. Very few clouds to speak of, a little bit here and there, but for the most part, again, another beautiful day across northwestern Ontario as we have a look at what's happening right now. 23 degrees. Just about everywhere west of us, so between Dryden, Atikokan, Fort Francis, and Kenora. Beautiful sunshine. Pickle Lake at 25. Armstrong at 23. Also, that trend continues. A little bit cooler in Marathon at 18. That wind coming out of the west right now is keeping things just a touch cooler in Marathon, but Greenstone 22, Sault Ste. Marie 20 degrees as well. Here in Thunder Bay, we hit a high of 26 degrees today, which is, again, another beautiful sky. Humidex made that feel a little bit warmer than that, but again, not too much. A little bit hazy today outside, if you saw that. That is because of that heat, and it's finally here, which is nice. Again, that wind gusting up to 21 kilometers an hour tonight. Going to drop down to 10 degrees, mainly clear skies. We could see some fog patches tonight as well, about midnight, moving into the early morning hours tonight, this evening. That's because, again, that warm weather with the cooler air still cooling off quite a bit at night, so that fog could happen a little bit, but for the most part, should remain clear. As we have a look at what's happening this week in that jet stream, you see those thunder showers that could move in over the weekend. Thunder Bay has about a 30-40% chance of showers on Saturday and on Sunday. That continues into the early part of next week, but as we move into the middle of next week, that jet stream is going to shift way up to above the region, and it's going to be significantly warmer. We are going to be seeing temperatures upwards of the upper 20s, even up into the 30s possibly. So that is good news for the week ahead. I'll have more details coming up about that later in the News Hour.
All right, thanks very much, Matt. Well, tensions continue to run high in Egypt following yesterday's deadly crackdown on dissidents, and now the rest of the world is reacting. Details for you on that and more as your Thursday News Hour continues.
While we want to sustain our relationship with Egypt, our traditional cooperation cannot continue as usual when civilians are being killed in the streets.
Canada has closed its embassy in Cairo, and it will stay shuttered until further notice because of the continuing violence in Egypt.
We now know that at least 638 Egyptians were killed in yesterday's street battles between the military and supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Egyptian authorities have authorized police to use deadly force to protect themselves and key state institutions. Nala Ayad has the latest.
What little remains of the sit-in suggests a decisive battle. But after this, there can only be more. For one, the chaos in Cairo claimed hundreds of lives. But the counting isn't over, and the mourning has just begun. At a mosque turned makeshift morgue, a stream of families struggle to claim their dead.
I lost here a friend. He's 23 years old. He's got 3 kids. He's always a very, very good guy.
Yesterday's raids stunned the Muslim Brotherhood. Over 12 hours, security forces razed their tents and their morale to the ground. The state of emergency then put in place, a devastating reminder of the old days. I saw live bullets with my own eyes, he says. They have made in the USA printed on them. The U.S. has spent billions backing the Egyptian military. It's key to regional stability, to keeping the peace with Israel. Angered by the violence, though, the U.S. president canceled a joint military exercise, but never mentioned cutting off the aid.
But while we want to sustain our relationship with Egypt, our traditional cooperation cannot continue as usual when civilians are being killed in the streets and rights are being rolled back.
But on one side of Egypt's divide, it's the Brotherhood that's seen as violent. As police buried their dead, there's certainty there. What authorities did yesterday was right.
We did our best to talk to the Muslim brothers. They refused to talk to us or to negotiate anything.
Even if that chance really existed, it's gone now, lost in the battle to assign blame. In the fresh protests the Brotherhood have promised. Some today chose to attack a government building in Giza. The Brotherhood and the military, old enemies, taking up an old battle. It's far more bitter now than ever. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
Two teenagers made a court appearance in Halifax today on charges connected to the Rehtaeh Parsons case. One of the accused is charged with making and distributing child pornography, the other with distributing kiddie porn. Jack Julian has the latest.
The accused in the Rehtaeh Parsons case. They're both 18, but they can't be identified because they were youths at the time of the alleged offenses. Rehtaeh Parsons' uncle was also in court today. He wanted to lay eyes on them for himself.
I have to pray for these boys. I have to pray for them to become good men. And that's the hardest thing for me to do. But it's something I have to do.
Rehtaeh Parsons died last April following a suicide attempt. She was 17. She spent 2 years struggling with depression. Her parents say it started when she was sexually assaulted at a house party at age 15. They say someone took a picture and that it was shared around her school. Rehtaeh Parsons' story triggered an avalanche of publicity across Canada and around the globe. The public echoed the family's questions. Why did police lay no charges in the case?
I have absolutely no faith in the RCMP or the Halifax City Police or the Crown prosecutors because they totally dropped this case. They totally dropped the ball.
Even the online collective Anonymous stepped forward, threatening to conduct its own investigation and unmask those involved. A defense lawyer for one of the young men says any presumption of innocence was ignored.
Individuals on the internet and certain members of the media conducted their own one-sided trial in relation to this matter. No due process was given. The matter is now before the courts properly in that it will be dealt with, hopefully properly and fairly.
The young men will be back in court in September when their lawyers will discuss disclosure of evidence from the Crown. Jack Julian, CBC News, Halifax.
New numbers are out on what people who want to buy or sell a home have to contend with right now. For many Canadians, that includes a rise in prices from the same time a year ago and a jump in the number of sales. As Ron Charles reports, that has some people asking if Ottawa's measures to cool off an overheated market are wearing off.
Probably put the couch like this.
In much of Canada, any house hunter expecting a depressed real estate market with bargains galore will be disappointed. After a dip over last winter and into this spring, the resale housing market is roaring along, up 9.4% year over year in July. The jump in sales doesn't come as a big surprise to most analysts. Last summer, Ottawa brought in new, tougher mortgage rules that froze out some potential buyers and sent sales tumbling.
I think it's pretty balanced and well-behaved.
Economists like BMO's Robert Cavich say they expected the new mortgage rules to eventually wear off.
The response we've seen has been pretty consistent with past mortgage rule tightening. So we saw a slowdown in sales and prices for about 6 months through the winter. What we're seeing now is the market basically absorbed those rule changes and is pushing on forward.
Did you get the property taxes?
Mortgage broker Marcus Severus saw it all happen at his office, the slowdown and then the pickup.
Since we saw the change in the mortgage rules, people were a little uncertain as to how that would play out in the market. Now that they're seeing that prices are stable, they're understanding that they've got to enter the market at some point.
Some economists say don't expect a repeat of these high sales numbers next month. The finance minister recently tightened mortgage rules even further. The results of those changes are expected to appear in the next release of sales figures. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
10 years ago this week, a series of fires destroyed more than 300 homes and businesses in the British Columbia interior. A discarded cigarette triggered the devastation. Chris Brown has the story of one man's remorse and a community's remarkable willingness to forgive.
It'll never be over for me, not totally.
This is an anniversary Mike Barry hates to think about.
You'd probably heal faster with the death of a loved one than you would with this, because I affected so many people.
10 years ago, Barry lived in McClure, about an hour's drive north of Kamloops. It was one of the driest summers on record, and he admits he did something stupid on a forested ridge near his home.
And I was smoking up there, and I dropped my cigarette. I butted it with my foot, and we just moved on.
The parched forest floor was littered with combustible dead wood, and in an instant, flames were leaping from tree to tree.
What was going through your head? Panic, thinking, what have I done? You know. And then when I realized it was out of control, I mean, it just devastated me.
The fire raced into the communities of Lewis Creek and Barrier, destroying almost 80 homes and businesses, including the Tolko sawmill that employed 180 people. Barry fessed up about what he'd done right away. He was charged with carelessness and fined in court. And yet many of those who lost everything never saw him as a villain. Indeed, thousands of people signed a petition supporting him.
Even though people lost money, majority of them were very forgiving to me. And it's a great community.
Barry now lives in Alberta. He's relieved how his former community has bounced back and, by and large, forgiven him.
It'll never be out of my mind. I'll never stop thinking about what I've done and the damage I did. Accident or no accident, right? I should have been more careful.
Though much of Lewis Creek was rebuilt, the Tolko mill was not, and it was a huge blow to the economy. Now there's a memorial at the site to serve as a reminder of how a single act of carelessness can affect the lives of so many. Chris Brown, CBC News, Lewis Creek.
There is a new member of the totem pole family. The finishing flourishes are being notched into a new totem pole on Haida Gwaii in British Columbia. The 13-meter pole will be the first carved cedar monument to be raised on the islands in more than a century. It was inspired by the anniversary of an agreement to preserve and protect the territory.
Are you a Facebook fanatic? Well, you're not alone. New statistics say Canadians log on to Facebook more than people in any other nation. But according to researchers, that may not be a good thing. A U.S. study found that more people used Facebook, the more unhappy they felt, and face-to-face interactions had the opposite effect. Their conclusion, Facebook undermines happiness.
Scientific study, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at activity on the markets now. Toronto saw the TSX climb 65 points today to finish at 12,704. The Dow, meantime, plunged 225 points to 15,112, and the Nasdaq fell 63 points to 3606. Canadian dollar gained almost a quarter cent, climbing to 97.05 cents US. Gold up $27 to $1,360 an ounce, and oil was up 48 cents to $107.33 a barrel. Canada not known as a power on the world track and field scene, but we continue to do well right now at the World Track and Field Championships.
Yeah, another medal, some more hardware. It's another bronze, so yet to get a gold, but still great news nonetheless, as Canada has collected its third medal at those track championships in Moscow. Derek Drulin captured a bronze in the men's high jump. He had a Canadian record leap of 2.38 meters. Drulin also won bronze at the event in the 2012 London Olympics. The Ontario native joins decathlete Damian Warner, bronze, and heptathlete Brianne Tyson-Eaton, silver, as Canada's medalists at those World Championships. Meanwhile, at Cincinnati's Western and Southern Open tennis tournament, Milos Raonic looking to advance to the quarterfinals of his second straight event. He could accomplish that with a win over American John Isner. First set tiebreak, Isner up 5 points to 4. A short rally as Raonic sends the forehand into the net. Isner goes on to win set number 1, 7-6, much to the delight of this American crowd as we watch Isner rain down one of his 13 aces to wrap it up. To match point we go now. Isner's serve, once again, too hot for the Thornhill, Ontario native to handle. Isner wins in straight sets, 7-6, 6-4. A frustrating match for the world's 10th ranked player, who's now winless in 2 attempts against Isner. Just 4 aces on the day for the hard-serving Raonic. He also had his serve broken twice. Well, the Toronto Blue Jays look to take 2 of 3 from the Boston Red Sox tonight. Mark Burley gets the ball for the Blue Jays. Yesterday, the Jays underwent a major roster shakeup, dealing speedster Emilio Bonifacio to the Kansas City Royals for cash or a player to be named. That cleared the way for outfielder Kevin Pillar, who made his debut in the Jays lineup last night. There he is on the right of your screen alongside the ever-popular Munenori Kawasaki, back with the club after Colby Rasmus landed on the DL. The new guy, Pillar's first big league at-bat facing John Lester, gets some good wood on the ball, but Shane Victorino is there to take a hit away from the rookie. It remains scoreless through 2. Third inning now, Rajai Davis at the dish. A weird play. Davis hits it back to Lester. Lester throws it away at first. That's an E1. Davis rounds second. He's headed for third. Victorino's throw hits Davis. That's an E9 on the right fielder. The ball bounces well past third base, and Davis will score. It goes into the books as a single with throwing errors on Lester and Victorino. What a way to open the scoring. One of 2 errors on the night charged to John Lester. How about the 2 guys just joining this Jays team? Kawasaki climbs the ladder to rob Mike Napoli. That ends the 4th inning. Top 6 now, it's 2-1 Jays. Pillar showing he can get it done in the field. Check out that snag in left. Oh my goodness, that is a beauty. Gets the applause from his pitcher, Esmail Rogers. He's impressed with the youngster. Skip ahead now to the top of the 9th. Sox down to their last out. How's this for clutch? Napoli, gone. 2-run shot. We need extras for the 2nd straight game. It is 3-3. Brett Cecil can't believe it, but it's true. The bearded man in the audience can't believe it, but it's true. Bottom 10, 2 on, 1 out. Brett Laurie at the dish, and it's game over. Off the glove of Stephen Drew, Rajai Davis comes home as Laurie walks off the Red Sox. Jays take game 2, 4-3, as they even the series at 1 apiece. Well, New York Rangers defenseman Mark Stahl has already publicly acknowledged that his eye will likely never be the same after he took a deflected Kimmo Timonen slap shot to the face back in March. But the Thunder Bay native vows he'll be back at full strength in time for training camp.
Kimmo Timonen a shot that hit a body. Oh boy, it hit a Ranger up high. Oh, and he is in a lot of pain. It's Stahl. Mark Stahl.
This was the frightening scene back on March 5th. Mark Stahl writhing on the ice with an injury that some feared could be career-threatening. The puck, which deflected right into Stahl's face, fractured his orbital bone and caused a small retinal tear in his right eye. Stahl says he couldn't see out of the eye at all the week after the injury, but slowly and surely his vision improved, and he vows he'll be back and ready to go for the upcoming season.
It's going well. I mean, I'm starting to get adapt to it more, and the more days go by, the the better I feel about it, and starting to become natural now.
The injury has changed his perspective on the importance of wearing a visor. The 26-year-old, who never wore one before, is now sold on the protective device, as are his brothers.
I mean, I was a guy that didn't wear one and didn't really want to, and when the injury happens, it's a scary thing, and one of those things where you don't want to see anybody else go through that.
Everyone thinks they're invincible out there, and there's definitely times that there's a rude awakening, and obviously watching that happen to someone so close, it can make it difficult. And obviously, me and Eric both made the decision to put a visor on.
As for Mark's Rangers, they'll have a new voice behind the bench this season. After 4+ seasons in New York, John Tortorella is out as the Rangers head coach, replaced by longtime Vancouver Canucks bench boss Alain Vigneault. And while Stahl stopped short of saying the in-your-face coaching style employed by Tortorella has a shelf life, he's excited to welcome Vigneault into the fold.
He's an honest guy. He's a good guy, and I think everyone's excited to kind of refresh and kind of get a new breath in our room and kind of get us reinvigorated for this year.
And that's a team that certainly has the talent to once again make a strong playoff push. To the OUA, where the Thunderwolves coach Bill McDonald has named his new assistant. It's a familiar name, Dan Bissonnette. He's joining the team for his 3rd tour of duty. He's also coached under Pete Beliveau and Joel Sherbin before moving on to coach the AAA Midget Kings. Bissonnette also coached under McDonald for the Thunder Bay Senators team that won the Colonial League Championship in 1993-94. Well, many feared the worst yesterday after NFL quarterback Tom Brady suffered what appeared to be a potentially serious knee injury during a joint practice with Tampa Bay. It turns out wasn't so serious after all. Brady was back on the practice field today, which is great news for New England Patriots fans. This is the cell phone video shot by a fan that caused the football world to come grinding to a halt Wednesday. Brady was knocked to the ground after Bucs defensive end Adrian Claiborne bull-rushed Pats tackle Nate Solder, who then fell into his franchise QB. Brady immediately clutched his left knee. However, an MRI showed no structural damage. Brady wasn't wearing his knee brace at the time, which he had worn ever since he tore his ACL in 2008. The star quarterback did put that brace back on today. Brady expects to play in tomorrow's preseason game against Tampa Bay, so fans can breathe easy. The International Paralympic Committee has come under fire recently after a controversial decision to disqualify an Olympic gold medal winning swimmer who suffers from transverse myelitis for, get this, apparently not being disabled enough.
This is Ireland, Victoria Ireland from the USA.
18-year-old Victoria Ireland is a star swimmer. Nothing could stop her from competing in her favorite sport, not even when she was diagnosed with transverse myelitis around 7 years ago.
It usually involves inflammation and damage to the nerves and the tissues in the spinal cord.
Ireland spent almost 2 years in a coma. She's currently, despite it all, she's a Paralympic gold medalist in the 100-meter freestyle. But on August 10th, Ireland was disqualified from the World Championships here in Montreal.
There was insufficient evidence that there was a permanent impairment, and that's what's needed to compete in IPC swimming competitions.
President of the Canadian Transverse Myelitis Association, Kimberly Kotar, who is also an athlete living with TM, says she was shocked when she first heard the news.
For someone to say that this is a temporary disability and that she shouldn't be included, I mean, obviously, I don't think they know very much about the disease because, transverse myelitis is very invisible.
Kotar says having TM feels like your limbs could give way at any moment.
Every second of every minute of every day, I experience pins and needles from basically my feet to my waist. It's an overstimulation from the damage to the spinal cord.
In a message to her friends and family, Ireland wrote on Facebook, "I'm so heartbroken with what has happened. I feel numb and completely shocked with the turn of events." The International Paralympic Committee sympathizes with Ireland, but insists she simply doesn't meet their criteria.
She was a great athlete competing at London 2012 last year. However, we have to abide by the rules, and the rules state that to compete in IPC swimming competitions, you must be deemed to have a permanent impairment.
At least one doctor we spoke to believes Ireland's condition could be permanent.
I don't know all the details of the case, but that being said, If this young woman was in a wheelchair for a prolonged period of time, I suspect that her deficits are permanent, and so I wouldn't anticipate a dramatic recovery.
Spence says the only way the IPC would reconsider their ruling is if they get another medical report, one that is even more detailed than the one they already have.
We apologize for that audio. The IPC taking some heat for this, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate case, isn't it?
It is.
All right, thanks very much, Ryan.
Well, tonight, another house guest will be evicted on Big Brother. With your full viewing lineup, here's tonight's edition of Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, we prove that if you want to win big, you've got to take a risk. Starting at 8 on Glee, the club's assignment is to share their musical shame and guilty pleasures. Then at 9 on Big Brother, it's time to say goodbye to someone with tonight's live eviction. And at 10 on Rookie Blue, the squad frantically searches for Chris's son after he's kidnapped. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay, we get up close and personal with nature and our history. First at 8, The Nature of Things looks at what's really happening below the fracking process. Then at 9, The New Green Giants exposes the controversial world of the organic food industry. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, it was another beautiful day in the city today. I don't think anyone can complain after the summer we've had, Matt.
Yeah, no kidding, Holly. It's really tough to find. If anybody really is complaining about the weather, you need to be like, give them a second look, be like, huh? Really? Come on. No, yesterday in Thunder Bay, we had a high of 26 degrees. Again, absolutely beautiful outside. A little bit hazy because of that heat that we've been seeing. Not much wind to speak of, but again, beautiful, beautiful conditions in the city and around the region for that matter. I'll get to that in just a second. First, let's have a look at what's happening across the country. Vancouver, 21 degrees, cloudy skies. They actually have rain in the forecast for the next 3 or 4 days as well, so they're not so lucky out on the west coast. Prince George, 26, Edmonton, 25, Calgary, 29 as well. As we move into Saskatchewan, 30 degrees in Saskatoon, 27 in Regina. Yeah, a little bit of a heat wave there. Humidex is making that feel a little bit warmer, but there are some severe thunderstorm watches and warnings in the Prince Albert area, but in the western part of the province. It's because of that heat causing a little bit, obviously, a little bit of friction up in the atmosphere. So again, they could see some thunderstorms in that region over the course of today and tonight. In Winnipeg as well, the 28 degrees, seeing again beautiful conditions out in Winnipeg, and Churchill right now, as I'll jump out of the way, 26 under cloudy conditions. As we move into southern Ontario and have a look down in Toronto, 22 degrees. Again, cloudy skies in Toronto, so not so much sunshine today. Ottawa, Montreal, 22 degrees and sunny. Quebec City, 15 degrees, a little bit cool as it has been for most of the week in Quebec City. They've actually seen a lot of rain this week as well, and still cool conditions as we move into the Maritimes. 21 degrees, 20 degrees, mostly sunny skies there. Feeling a nice break from that rain that Quebec has been seeing for most of the week. So again, better conditions out in the Maritimes. As we have a look at the surface map, you see the cold front moving through with the low pressure system into tomorrow. As we move into Saturday, that's going to be right on the cusp of most of the region. You're going to see temperatures drop a little bit on Saturday. That's for most of the region, but a lot of areas are going to remain under it, which is a good thing. So again, temperatures shouldn't drop too much. It's these pockets of precipitation that we're going to see move into the region, possibly with pockets again on Saturday and Sunday. As we have a look at the regional forecast tonight, 14 degrees in Kenora, a little bit cooler in the central part of the region. Armstrong at 7 and Upsala at 8 degrees. Big Trout Lake at 14 degrees tonight. Moving into tomorrow, again, beautiful temperatures across the board out west in Kenora, 25 degrees. Down in Marathon, 21. Again, keeping a little bit cool because of that wind coming off the lake. 25 in Greenstone along the North Shore, 25 in Sault Ste. Marie. So again, another beautiful day in the forecast for northwestern Ontario. Thunder Bay at this hour, 26 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Again, that wind's keeping pretty calm right now, which is definitely a good thing. Tonight, we are going to drop down to 10 degrees, but clear skies. Not much clouds to speak of, which, again, will keep things a little bit cooler than we saw last night, but, again, not as cool as it's been for the past few nights. Again, not much wind to speak of. Again, north gusting up to 16 kilometers an hour. Yesterday, it was the shovel. If you had a chance to see the shovel, today, a nice big piece of watermelon for you, because that's where summer days are. In fact, hopefully you're eating that up right now. 24 degrees by 23 tomorrow around noon, 24 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Again, another beautiful sky. And as we have a look at the 5-day forecast, 25, 26, we're going to see a UV index of 7 tomorrow. And as we move into that weekend, we're going to have 27, 28, beautiful temperatures, but there is a 30 to 40% chance of showers. We could see a thunderstorm as well on Sunday night, but for the most part, we have some beautiful weather in store for us for the next few days.
Getting pregnant can be hard for some couples, and many are now looking to surrogacy. In fact, 1 in 6 couples are using a carrier to create a family. And after late-night talk show host Jimmy Fallon went public with his struggles to become a dad, the issue of surrogacy has resurfaced.
Jimmy Fallon is known for putting a smile on people's faces.
Oh, yeah.
And now, he's smiling from a place deep down inside.
I'm your host, Dada.
Surprising fans last month with news he's a first-time father.
Congratulations on the new baby.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's the most unbelievable thing. You can't describe it. It's like I'm floating in a new bubble.
Following that surprise with another.
We had a surrogate, and it's just we tried before, we told people, and then it didn't happen. And it's just really depressing. It's really hard on everybody.
And it's common. Infertility hits 1 in 6 couples, and many are now opting for surrogacy, arranging for someone else to carry their child.
And it's so emotional when you call everybody and you tell everybody like this happened, because it comes out of nowhere and they're like, what? And everyone just starts crying, and it's just really happy because, you know, we tried for a long time.
Melissa Brisman was not able to carry a baby, so she and her husband decided to use a gestational surrogate when the woman is implanted with a fertilized egg from the biological parents.
I was crying in the delivery room. We were all crying. The carrier was crying. Her husband was crying. He was so happy.
Now a mother of 3, she changed careers to help families connect with potential surrogates.
Every little girl grows up thinking she's going to carry the baby. So it's really hard to have somebody else carry the baby for you. But, you know, it brings me great joy, my work. I mean, we've helped over 1,500 people have babies, and for me, that's always going to be something I'm very proud of.
But the price tag is high, anywhere from $40,000 to $120,000, part of which can be covered by insurance. The actual cost depends on a variety of factors, including the medical needs of the surrogate, the type of surrogacy, and payment to the surrogate herself, which can be upwards of $25,000.
Pocket pass. That's a pocket pass.
But the result is priceless.
You know, we tried for 5 years, and I know people have tried much longer, but if there's anyone out there who is trying and are just losing hope, and just hang in there. Try every avenue. Try anything you can do, because you'll get there. You'll end up with a family, and it's so worth it.
All right, staying with medical news, I'm sure you've always wanted to know how you help an ailing alligator. Well, yes. Acupuncture, of course. That story when we return. We want to introduce you to Bino, the albino alligator. Now, albino alligators are already pretty rare, as you know, but Bino is even more special. He's probably one of the few acupuncture patients with some sharp tools of his own. Bino suffers from a curvature of the spine, which causes some pain, but his caretakers at a Brazilian zoo say the weekly acupuncture session seems to be helping. He's even been able to get back in the water with his brother, Albie.
He looks fake until he moved there. He looked, I thought he was a toy.
Stick your hand in there, you'll find
I'll
out.
realize pretty quickly it's not a toy. Yeah.
Recapping our top story, well, days after the city rejected a bylaw that would limit the number of pets per home, the local Humane Society was called to remove 14 animals, including a dozen cats, from a Southside residence today. And Humane Society officials say hoarding animals continues to be an issue in our city.
Toronto Blue Jays back in action this evening, looking to take 2 of 3 from the Boston Red Sox at home. I'll have those highlights coming up for you on the late edition.
Beautiful weather ahead, sunshine, UV index of 7 tomorrow, so be prepared for that. But a high of 26 for tomorrow as well. Humidex is going to make things feel even warmer.
Get out and enjoy.
Yep.
That'll do it for tonight's Look at News, Weather, and Sports. Thank you all for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you.